Hello, good afternoon. It's Tuesday, about 1 o'clock, coming up to about 10 minutes to 1. Well, I've had a few trolls from Alex Belfield's side, which is quite nice because all those viewing minutes all add up to boost my channel. Because, as we all know, YouTube actually base their algorithm on viewing minutes, not on whether you like or dislike the video. So more for you, trolls. And as David Attenborough said once in an interview, what he thought about the trolls was that they are brain dead bastards. That's right, none of them have got fathers. Yeah, so anyway, one particular troll by the name of Have Dollholmes, his name is. So I thought I'd reply to his little rant about registering cyclists. He believes that every cyclist should have insurance as a mandatory thing and should be registered. How far are you going to take this thing about registering cyclists? Pedestrians walk on the pavement, and they quite often have accidents. They bump into each other, they knock each other over. And so are you going to register pedestrians? How are you going to do it? Are you going to put a tattoo across their forehead with a registration number? Or perhaps put a number on their forearms, like the Nazis did in Germany in 1940? Then what are you going to do? Once you've now got your cyclists registered with a tattoo across their forehead, so it's visible for the whole world to see. You've got pedestrians tattooed with their number across their forehead, so you can see who they are. What about the little old lady in a mobility scooter? Are you going to register that as well? Or the mum pushing a baby's pram? Are you going to nail a registration plate to a baby? Then there's horses. What are you going to do about horses? You're going to nail something to the arse end of a horse? All right, put a tattoo on the rider's forehead so it can be seen. What you don't realise is a car registration identifies the car. It doesn't identify the driver. Is it sinking in? Are you beginning to understand? The registration plate on a car identifies the car. It doesn't identify the driver. It might identify the owner. And as we're finding out, even MPs are using this loophole to get out of speeding tickets. So anybody can claim that it wasn't them driving. Unless, of course, you've got a picture showing them behind the steering wheel. But the owner of a car doesn't have to tell. He might get charged in court, might get charged £600 in court for failing to identify the driver of the vehicle. But he doesn't have to tell the court who the driver was. So by registering a car, you're not identifying the driver. It's quite black and white, isn't it? Right. So what else is there? Why are cars registered? Why are number plates on cars? That is so that you can trace the car back to its owner, and hopefully the owner will do the right thing and will nominate a driver. But that ain't going to happen. How are you going to register little orphan Annie on her tricycle? How are you going to register that? Or little Johnny Smith, on his 5-year-old, on his bike? How are you going to register him? Okay, plenty of bikes get stolen. And how are you going to prove that your bike was stolen, that you weren't riding it? If your bike's not there, all you can say is my bike's not there. You can't prove that you were riding or weren't riding it. So this argument falls flat on its face. There's absolutely no way are they going to register cyclists. No way. There's far too many of them. And there's far too many bike thefts to make it even worth doing. Right, the other things I wanted to mention. Yes, the other thing that this Have Doms said to me was that all cyclists need insurance. Well, most of the decent ones have insurance, liability insurance. They either get it through their home content insurance, or they go through Cycling UK or British Cycling UK, and that liability insurance is literally pennies. It's literally a few pennies a day, about £7 a month, I think it is what I pay for mine. And I also have it through my house insurance as well. And of course, if you need to use that liability insurance to sue a driver that hit you, then it's always handy to have. But why don't cyclists need insurance by law? Let's talk about that. Okay, there might be the odd occasion where a cyclist will cause a pile-up, but we all know that that's very unlikely to happen, as we've seen the numbers. But imagine a cyclist bumping into a car. How much damage is, say, a 100-kilo bike and rider going to do to a car? Virtually nothing. You might get a scrape or a dent, and that will be fixed. It might cost a couple of £100 to get it fixed, well within the realms of anybody who will be able to pay it. Secondly, if you're in a car and you hit a car, the damage that you can do in a car will amount to thousands. Okay, so how are you, if you're the victim, how are you going to claim that money back if you're not insured? That's why you have a car insurance, is if you do a great deal of damage. And if someone damages your car, you're also covered. That's why you have insurance. So a cyclist hits your car, the cyclist comes off worse. If you hit somebody else's car in your car, you're going to do thousands of pounds worth of damage, and you quite possibly are going to injure someone, put them in hospital, life-changing injuries, because you've been an idiot in your car. You've gone too fast for the road conditions, you can't stop in the space available, and you've hit someone. That's why you have insurance. If you're on a bike, you weigh 100 kilos maybe. If you're in a car, you're somewhere in the region of 2,000 kilos. 2,000 kilos is quite a lot when you convert it to momentum at 30 miles an hour. It's momentum that does the damage in a crash. If you throw a paper plane out a glass window, the paper plane will hit the window and fall to the floor. If you throw a baseball out a window, it's going to go straight through the window. That's because the paper airplane weighs very little and the baseball weighs quite a lot in comparison. And that's momentum. It's mass times velocity in meters a second. So 2,000 kilograms doing 30 kilometers an hour is quite a lot different to 100 kilos doing 20 kilometers an hour. Quite a bit of difference in momentum. So that's why cyclists don't have to have insurance. The sensible ones, like me, who don't break the law, I follow all the rules on the road. If I find there's cars behind me on the quiet country roads, I pull over and let them pass, as you've seen from my videos. And I consider that as paying forward. As quite often, in these country roads, you get the odd tractor coming at you down the narrow country lane. And I pull over to the side and put my bike onto the grass verge and let the tractor pass. Now, quite often, on my return journey, I pass the tractor coming the opposite way as well. He'll recognise me and he'll pull into a passing space at the bottom of the hill, and he allows me to zoom past. And I give him a nod and a wave and I say, thank you very much. then that's what I call paying forward. You know, it doesn't do any harm. But when you're out on the roads and you see a cyclist, don't just barge past them. The law's changing. You've got to give them 2 meters pretty soon. 1.5 meters if you're traveling below a certain speed. But if you're traveling at over 30 miles an hour, I think you've got to give them 2 meters. Anyway, that's the law. But it does pay forward. You know, if you give way to cyclists, they'll often give way to you later on. You know, as we've all seen across town, if you cycle across town, you overtake the cyclist, you stop at the lights, that cyclist comes screaming up to the lights because he's can work his way to the front of the queue into the bike box. Oh yeah, Have Domes, a bike box. The cyclist has priority. You're supposed to allow the cyclist to clear the bike box before you do in your car. That's the law. Yeah, anyway, so I rambled on and ranted on, and I've taken up far too much of your valuable time. So remember, hit the subscribe button, hit the like icon, and hit the bell for notifications. If you hit the bell with the 2 brackets above the top, you'll get notifications every single time. As I told you, 92% of my viewers don't subscribe, so you miss out on the next one. Unless you stumble across it, of course. But anyway, happy Tuesday, everyone.